I can say is thank goodness Sunday's here, man. I mean, this week couldn't have gone by fast enough to get the taste of that lack of performance out of the team's mouth from last week.
Well, and a big revelation this week, and we'll hear it from the coach and from the players here in a minute, was that it wasn't a good week on the practice field last week, right? For whatever reason, and it's hard to imagine what that reason could be, you have the defending Super Bowl champions in town for your home opener and the only chance on the schedule against Patrick Mahomes to get a slight advantage when it comes to playing at home in the playoffs. Even though it's only week 2, little things like that matter for championship aspirations.
Oh, it's honestly a little stunning, Brian, that you wouldn't be completely focused on this opportunity. Now, we gave the Jags credit for not making this like the 2018 offseason where it seemed like all it was about was the rematch from the team that knocked you out of the playoffs. Here, they were more tempered about it. But, internally, this is a measuring stick game. They talked about that, as you mentioned, that it's going to have playoff implications down the line. You had Kansas City not playing a very good game and not, Kelsey and Chris Jones not at the best that we're going to see them if we see him down the line.
Chris Jones wasn't at his
No.
best?
Do you think
Holy
he was?
cow.
I mean, look, he's phenomenal, but that's the thing. Give the guy
facetious.
a few weeks with games under his belt, and he'll be even better.
Well, and not everything was awful, right? Not everything deserved to be thrown in the trash pile. The defense played a whale of a game. If you had said before the game that the Jaguars would hold Patrick Mahomes to just 17 points and force 3 first-half turnovers, you'd like your chances. And the offense had the ball late in the fourth quarter in the red zone with an opportunity to score a touchdown and go for 2 and try and tie the game up. So there's plenty that they have to work with this week, but it's got to be better against the Texans team. And Mike, before we dive crazy into this thing, the Texans injury report looks like it's a December injury report. I mean, they are missing both their starting tackles. They are missing 3 members of their secondary. Denzel Perryman, who is the key player in their front 7 on defense for DeMeco Ryans, is not going to play today either. And you've got a rookie quarterback who has been pushed around, who has thrown the ball all over the field, and though he has not thrown an interception yet, you get the sense if he throws the ball more than 40 times for the 3rd straight week, I mean to say, there could be some today.
Well, you think the numbers would eventually catch up with C.J. Stroud, but I think, Brian, what you're talking about, the folks that are missing today are the story for the Houston Texans, and they're the story in many ways for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you cannot get some pressure on a guy who was sacked 6 times last week, missing 4 offensive line starters, Laramie Tunsil doesn't make the trip. They're hopeful to get him back this week. He's their best offensive lineman. I mean, you've got to be able to get pressure. I don't care what kind of shape Josh Allen's in. I don't care if Josh Allen plays. Somebody in this team needs to get to C.J. Stroud today. And as you mentioned, you're missing your middle linebacker, your all-rookie safety from last year, Jalen Petrie, 2 cornerbacks, your starting nickel and one of your 2 starters. I mean, the conditions are right for the Jaguars offense to have a massive bounce back and for the pass rush.
And I haven't even mentioned that Shaquille Griffin is going to start for the Texans on one corner.
Is that a revenge game for us or for him? I don't know.
We saw him. The Colts were taking him to the cleaners in an upset loss in Indianapolis. But we'll save that for a little later on. By the way, a quiz. What was that website again?
Oh,
right.
Man.
Renewal by Anderson presents today's game. A better way to a better window. RBAFLA.com. Sorry, I couldn't miss that opportunity, Mike. I just decided to go for it. All right. So the head coach this week came out with some energy. He wanted to make sure that he was leading the way, and he talked about his team getting better on the practice field this week.
A lot of it is on the players too. I mean, I can teach them and instruct in the way things are set up, but it's how the look teams present the look. It's how offensively and defensively they attack the game plan within the practice. And, there's going to be – you want the mistakes to be made during the week, right? So you clean those up and you minimize them during the game. But, it doesn't take away from us having, energy and juice and enthusiasm at practice, right? And those are all things that we can control. There's going to be mistakes, but it just, each person, each player just has to have that motivation. Like, hey, I've got to get better today.
You better have some juice because look, this Houston Texan team, no matter if they've been really good, division champs, good, really bad, just kind of scuffling along,
Like last season.
like last season, they've gotten used to going on the road and beating the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you ready for the numbers real quick?
Given to us.
In the last 26 matchups between the Jaguars and the Texans, the Jaguars have won 5. 5-21 of the last 26 matchups going back to 2013.
I think it's 5 straight on the road for the Texans as well, right? 1 in London, 4 in Jacksonville.
Yep,
so that's a team, no matter what kind of state they're in right now, they've got new core pieces that don't have any of that institutional memory about whether they've been good or bad. They're coming in, starting things fresh. But the ones who are back remember nothing much but success against this organization. So I guarantee you, Houston this morning is saying, this is it. This is where we get our first win of the season.
And remember last year, it was Trayvon Walker with, is ill-advised strong enough of a term to describe the penalty on Davis Mills that kept a drive that was dead in the water alive and gave them the chance to go score the go-ahead game-winning touchdown. And then, of course, the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, threw that really ill-advised
You're being generous.
It's terrible. Stingley
right. At least Stingley's one of those guys who won't be there today, but don't make it Steve Nelson or anybody else for that matter.
All right. Moving on. Another big story this week, the offensive line, which has struggled to protect the quarterback, really sped up his cadence the first 2 weeks. Last week, Chris Jones just did a number on the rookie right tackle, and Doug Peterson addressed that, saying they should have done a better job as coaches of giving him some help and protecting. But the offensive line has got to play better. It was a storyline for a very good reason when training camp began. It has not been since, and Doug was asked about the offensive line.
See, they don't get a ton of work during the preseason. You know, it's why I play the starters, really. You know, I know it's limited in preseason, but it's why I do play the starters, so we try not to have too many setbacks as the season begins. But there is some some continuity that has to be worked through with that offensive line. There's communication that has to be worked through. Ben's working himself back in as a starter again. Missing a few games from last season. Walker's playing tackle for the first time, kind of full time over there right now, and we got a young right tackle. So there's some pieces that still need to work together, but they're coached well and they practice hard, and we'll work through those.
Look, Walker Little played plenty of tackle last year. I mean, that to me, it's just silliness. If Ben Bartch isn't your best option right now, you got Tyler Shatley. I'm going to presume Ben Bartch is your best option at left guard. That's why he's out there. And you knew that Chris Jones was coming. Like, the failure to have a better plan to block him or to make an in-game adjustment, I think, that's where we point to. Yes, there were failures in execution, players not playing well, but there were failures on the coaching side last week. It was a complete team defeat.
You're talking to Jeff Loggeman this week about it. He talked about how Bartch was going to take a little bit more time to get back up since he missed almost all of camp. But you realize Shatley as well didn't practice, didn't play because of the AFib that kept him out. Hopefully now going forward here, those guys become better options. Right, Shatley's a guy you can put in if it doesn't get any better on the interior of the offensive line. Doug was quick to point out that he has a lot of confidence in Phil Rauscher, who's a celebrated young offensive line coach. They've got to get something done up front today. All right, to the quarterback, who clearly was unhappy after the game, and on Monday and Wednesday this week seemed to be a little bit more upbeat, but was asked, how difficult is it for you to lose, put it behind you, and simply move on?
I think it sticks with you for, all the way till today. Today you gotta turn the page and you gotta move on. And of course, preparation-wise, I've already done that. Monday after we watch the tape, you move on to your preparation for the next opponent, but that still bothers you, and you wanna bounce back. You wanna have a great day at practice today. You wanna kind of get that feeling out of your system. Obviously, when you don't execute and you don't play well, but just about channeling that in the right direction to putting together a great plan and preparing for this game, because that game's over. Can't go back and change it. We're 1-1. That's where we're at. And we got to be able to move on and figure out how can we get better. And I know we got the guys that do it, and we're going to. So, you obviously, that's the one thing about this game. It's different than basketball and baseball where you play maybe a few times in a week. Got to wait another week to go get that feeling out of your system. So, we're putting all of our efforts and focus into Houston, but definitely we're thinking about how we felt in that locker room and how we didn't perform like we know we can.
Sounds like the 24-hour rule got a little extended, unofficially this week.
Yeah.
That one hung around. And Hacker had a great comment apparently on the fifth quarter last week, right? In the post game, I heard a couple people mention it on 1010XL, didn't hear it myself, but he said, hey, don't let this game, meaning last week's, beat you twice.
You bet.
Don't let it linger. And I don't think they will, and I think all the talk about how they had a bad practice, I mean, they're putting it out there, and this is the circumstance. They know what's on the line here. Look, in the end, you can argue, it's going to be important for tiebreakers with Kansas City, but you want to win those division games. This game is paramount. This is as must win as a 1-1 team can have this point in the season.
Jack Del Rio's teams in the mid-2000s were famous for getting so amped up about a Colts game that if they lost the game to the Colts, they would generally lose the next week as well. They didn't have anything emotional left over. I didn't sense that this team on the front end was too overly jacked up about playing Kansas City. So, plus the fact that you're getting an injured Texans team today, I don't sense that they're primed for a letdown. And this is not a trap game in any sense of the word because they are hyper-focused on playing better.
Right, but again, Houston has had their number, right? And so you got to give them credit. They are an NFL team coming in here no matter what we think about the talent disparity between these two teams. And maybe that was the problem, Brian. Maybe last week, in an effort to not get overhyped, they kind of throttled it down a little too much. Like, let's not make this the be-all, end-all of the season. Whatever it was, they got to put it behind them, come out here today, and if they play their football, they're the better squad. They'll win the game.
Also, worth pointing out that DeMeco Ryans, it's clear after 3 head coaches in 3 years for the Texans, they finally have their guy. He is a good coach, highly energetic, and easy to listen and hear why players who play for the Texans want to play for him. One more thought on last week. Christian Kirk had a big day, but the offense didn't, and he was asked if last week has any motivating factor or if it's just about them playing better.
You definitely use it as motivation because, on the offensive side of the ball, nobody wants to put that on display. And so from us, I think you use it as motivation to get better each and every day, have a great, week of practice, a better one than we had last week. There's some practice days last week where we weren't as clean and it showed up on Sunday. So that's one thing that we need to focus on and be better.
Yeah, look, players will use anything they can to motivate themselves, Brian. I would think, I can't guarantee it, but if the Jags win the game today, we'll hear at least somebody say, nobody thought we could do this. I mean,
us against the world.
They twist everything into some kind of motivation. So whatever gets you to play your best today, I'm all for it.
Kirk is a consummate pro. We didn't hear from Zay Jones this week because he was injured and he was rehabbing during media time, not playing today. Again, a pro. Calvin Ridley, a pro. So these are guys that can turn it around, and if they have to use last week as motivation, or as Ridley said, hey, look, we're just pissed off at each other and ourselves. We know we can play better, and we have to. We'll find out. By the way, Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, was asked this week if the Jaguars were pressing. That was not my question. I was not using that. But if they were pressing too hard, if they were trying to do things above and beyond their jobs, and if they shouldn't just slow it down a little bit and let the game come to them a little bit.
The feeling of, all right, we need a big play here. We need to spark momentum. We need what got us going last year a little bit was just sticking to our plan. We built a game plan that we believed in. We execute the plan regardless of the situation, and we chip away at whatever we needed to do to get ourselves going. And so you fight the urge to, have to start digging and looking for the big play when it's not necessarily there. And Coach talks to the team all the time about, make the play that comes to you, don't go chasing plays. And that applies to all of us as coaches with, as myself as the play caller, the same idea of just stick to the plan that we created, we believed in from Monday to Saturday when there was no emotion involved in it. And so just stick to that, let the players make the plays, and that's where we want to go with things.
Yeah, it seems like an example of that was the first and goal at the 1.
Absolutely.
Right? Trevor Lawrence pulls the ball out of ETN's stomach and tries to make a play around left end, and it's just not there. It was a bad read.
You lose 4 yards, now everything changes.
And it changed everything, right? And the thing, even in that moment, Trevor Lawrence could have had the wherewithal to fling it through the back of the end zone because the offensive line knew it was kind of a run-pass option, so they didn't fire deep into the end zone. You wouldn't have gotten called for an ineligible man downfield. He could have saved, the yardage, and then you would have had the option to go with those short yardage run plays. But that's just one example of, everything players decision-making, coaches' decision-making, all contributed to the L last week.
Well, we'll find out in a couple of hours whether or not it was just a bad day or whether there is something deeper, something trending with this Jaguars offense that there has reason to be concerned about, although it didn't sound this week like anyone in the locker room was overly concerned. But up next on the Publix Tailgate Show,
it's the second year we've been together, and not really any new pieces to the puzzle. It's the same guys out there.
That's Rayshawn Jenkins in this week's Baptist Health Player Interview, plus CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco. The Jags and Texans less than 3 hours away. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
And the Publix Tailgate Show continues. Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios. Texans and Jaguars in an AFC South showdown coming up at 1 o'clock here from EverBank Stadium. Two other games, obviously, in the division today, and we'll follow all of them all season long for you. The Titans are at Cleveland. Browns coming off a loss. Titans coming off a win in which Ryan Tannehill, Mike, had a big game. Led the league in yards per completion at 10.3 per. And then the other one is the Colts and the Ravens, and the Colts going to play without Anthony Richardson today, so we'll follow both of those games as we go through it. Jaguars, 2-0 in the division would be great. Every leg up over the Titans, the Colts, matters all season long for these teams.
Absolutely, and it's their opportunity to go out there and get that 2-0 division advantage, which, that you start stockpiling them, start banking them. They can't take them away from you later in the year.
All of us expect, including Pete Prisco, who I know you caught up with again this week.
No doubt. And we'll get to the matchup with the Texans, but I wanted to quickly reflect on last week and see how surprised Pete was at the lack of offensive success the team had.
Very. I thought they would actually go up and down the field. I thought they would have success against that defense, and that's a better defense than we give them credit for. But I'll tell you what, man, the offensive line was an issue. I thought Trevor pressed a little bit. His throws were high. It's just a combination of a bunch of things. It just didn't seem to get into a rhythm.
Were the Jags not ready for the moment? Was the moment too big for them right now?
Well, I don't know if the moment was too big for him because I thought the defense showed up and played well. But I think, offensively, if you can't block and, that was an issue, it's going to be a problem to move the football. And I think it bleeds over everywhere else. I think the quarterback struggled because of the offensive line. And, the big play production down the field struggled because of the offensive line. So I went into the season thinking that line would be better than expected. And so far it's been a disappointment.
It has, but is there hope that it gets better either through just better play from the guys that are out there or maybe the return of Cam Robinson in a few weeks? Do you have hope that the blocking will improve?
Well, the interior has been a major issue for 2 games. And Anton Harrison, the right tackle, he's a rookie. He's going to have some moments where you're going against Chris Jones, you're going to struggle. That's understandable. But the interior guys, Sheriff and Fortner and Barch, they've been bad. I mean, that's being blunt, but that's the reality. They have to be much better. There's going to be problems for Trevor Lawrence inside the middle of that offensive line.
Well, a team that's got its own offensive line problems is the team facing Jacksonville today. Houston's had a beat-up offensive line throughout the first couple weeks of the season. Pete, is this an opportunity for the Jags pass rush to really impact today's game?
Well, you would hope. You mentioned it. They're banged up, and you don't have a quarterback that's he can move a little bit, but truly a mobile guy. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, yes, I think this is an opportunity to get some pressure on the quarterback and get the guy on the ground. Josh Allen did a nice job last week, I thought, before he went out with his shoulder injury. But I think they can start pressuring the quarterback more than they need to. But the defense wasn't the issue last week, Mike. So I think the defense is probably exceeded expectations where the offense has not.
Don't know how much you've been able to actually watch C.J. Stroud, but he's thrown for a ton of yards, hasn't thrown a pick yet. Have you been impressed with his start to his season?
Yeah, he's had his moments where he's looked like he's a rookie, but for the most part, I think they have to be pleased with where he is. I think he's, stood in there, made some timely throws, and understands the passing game. And you're right. I think, it's going to be a process for a young quarterback, but the good moments for him in the first 2 games have outweighed the bad ones.
In general, how do you feel like the Jags match up with the Texans today?
This is a game they have to win. This is a game they should win. This is a matchup that favors them in every way possible. And again, it all comes down to blocking and tackling. And I think defensively they've tackled well. Offensively, they've not blocked well. And that's been the biggest disappointment for the organization, I think, and for Trevor Lawrence, because this is a guy that needs to put up big numbers. And I think, this is a big moment for them to come out, get an early start, and show people that last week was just more of an aberration than anything else.
Do they try to set the tone today, maybe with Travis Etienne, and say, hey, let's let this offensive line get untracked a little bit by just driving straight ahead?
Well, I think that's something to look at, Mike, because they didn't run the ball very well last week, or they didn't run it much at all last week. And so I think sometimes you got to come back and bounce back and try and get that running game going. If they get the running game going, that'll take the pressure off the pass protection and off the quarterback. So, yeah, I think that's a strategy I would look at early in the game and then take some big shots. That's the one thing that we haven't seen a lot of is the down-the-field big shots, and I think that's a reflection of the offensive line.
All right, what's your prediction for the outcome today, Pete?
Oh, I think they handle business. I think this is one of those weeks where a team that was feeling pretty good about itself and had a big moment and didn't really produce in the big moment, they come back against a team. Yeah, they've given them trouble over the years, but this is a team that they should beat and should beat handily. I think they respond. I think the offense responds, and I think they win the game.
Well, hopefully we'll see some of those downfield shots today, Brian. You've got to be able to protect, so let's hope that Will Anderson and Jonathan Greenard are not living in the backfield and allow Trevor Lawrence to have some of those slower developing plays and take some shots.
That might be our UF Health Finding Solutions question for Jeff and Tony coming up in about 25 minutes or so.
I have
Hold on
an
to that
idea
one.
you know what that question is.
That one might be coming up. Hey, let me offer to you that I think that Rayshawn Jenkins has earned the title of heart of the Jaguars defense. He did it last year with those two huge plays, the one against the Cowboys and, of course, the one against the Titans in the season finale. He is this week's Baptist Health, Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute player interview. And Baptist Health and JOI, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he might be at Soul also in some contemplative moments in that locker room. And believe it or not, they do have those where they have to sit and think deeply about where they're at and why things didn't go right, which was the case this last week. Rayshawn Jenkins had some good answers and some good perspective on his team. So we started with the obvious. Even though they're just 1-1 when they hope to be 2-0, the defense has played well the first 2 weeks, and he knows why.
We just practice the right way every time we are, out there on the practice field. We prepare the right way. We got some good coaches that, help us really understand the game plan, and we are really receptive of it. And, we hold each other accountable. So I think that's a big reason why our defense is play the way we play, man. And then you got to understand this is the second year we've been together, and, not really any new pieces to the puzzle. It's the same guys out there.
Doug said last week you guys kept this team in the game while the offense kind of bumped around. There's moments on both sides of the ball like that. How do you balance it when offense is having a day and defense is playing well, or vice versa? How do you keep things even keeled?
Just like I said earlier, it starts out on this practice field right here. You really got to prepare the right way. And, we did a good job of preparing last week, but then, when it comes down to the game, you really have to just have that mindset of, hey, I got to make my plays when they come to me, because I may not get another opportunity like that.
You get a rookie quarterback for the second time in 3 weeks. Is that as much of an advantage as it would seem on the outside?
Yeah, I would say, but at the end of the day, it's still, this is the National Football League, so this is the highest level you can play at. So, yeah, he's a rookie, but I've been like the last 2 weeks, I want to say he broke like a record of whatever completions or whatever. So he's doing a good job for him. But, we have to understand, as a veteran group, that, we are playing a rookie, and we got to take advantage of a lot of those rookie mistakes.
So what do you see from this kid that you like?
He's really accurate with the ball. He won't really make a mistake as far as just throwing the ball anywhere. I don't think he has an interception yet, so he really takes care of the ball.
Texans have been a team that have had this team's number for a couple of years. How much confidence do you guys have coming off that big win at the end of last year? Does it ever carry over, or is last year last year?
I would say at this point, last year is last year. We got a few games under our belt already, a couple games under our belt, and we're trying to build the identity of this year's team. So I would definitely say, last year was last year, and they're gonna come out and play their game, and then we're gonna come out and match. Well, they have to match our energy.
But if division games count double, this is a big game for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We always look at the division games as we got to win the division first and foremost in order to get where we need to get. And every other game after that, we definitely want to win those as well. But it starts in the division.
Final thought from me. People are questioning this offense this week after a bad performance. What do you see on the practice field? What do you expect?
I expect for them to go out and dominate. They have weeks like that. It's football. There's going to be some weeks like that. I hate to bring up last year, but, last year our defense didn't do so good against Detroit Lions. They kind of had their way. And, like I say, there's going to be games like that. But the big thing is if you can come back and bounce back from a game like that, it really shows the true character in you. And I know the character of those guys over there on the offense. And for us, don't get it twisted. We still got to come out. We had a good game last week, but we got to come out and in order for us to do what we need to do, we got to dominate again.
Rayshawn's a guy I'm watching today. I think he has the potential to have a really big game against a rookie quarterback with the ability, as he does, to play in the box or get back in coverage. If you remember last week, there were a couple of throws to Travis Kelce where he was there to break it up, where he was there to deliver a hit, to separate Travis from the ball. I just think he's playing at a very high level right now, maybe as well as he has played at any point since he's been here, and expect that he's a guy who's going to be a difference maker the whole season long.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, you go back in time to last offseason. I think a lot of people thought that last year might end up being his last year with the Jags because of salary cap implications. And I think he played like the defensive MVP of the team when it all was said and done. So, yeah, look, you got a rookie quarterback who's probably going to put it up over 40 times today. And you've also got to assume that Houston's going to try to establish the run with Dameon Pierce, but with 4 offensive linemen out, I don't know how easy that's going to be. Right. Wasn't super efficient, although he scored 2 touchdowns against the Jags. So, yeah, Rayshon's going to impact it on both ends.
All right, we've got much more ahead here on the Publix Tailgate Show, hour number 1. Hall of Famer Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman join us from the booth coming up in about 15 minutes. But next,
but Roy got a taste of it. He got a taste of how hard you have to work for it. He got a taste of guys around him wanting to win. So he's come back with a different attitude.
That's defensive line coach Brenson Buckner. The Texans and Jaguars are coming up at 1 o'clock in Week 3. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information. Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime.
For the touchdown.
Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian Sexton, along with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios inside EverBank Stadium. The Jaguars and Texans coming up just after 1 o'clock, and today's game is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen, a better way to a better window.
Here we go. RBA. FLA.com.
There you go.
And you didn't set me up for that, obviously.
No.
Because it didn't exactly roll off the tongue.
You, my friend, are a professional radio broadcaster. Absolutely. Time here at just after the bottom of the hour for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
All right, Houston's finally here, and it's good then because I think there's been a bad taste in the mouth of everyone listening, everyone in the building, everyone on that field that you'll see in just a couple of hours. We know what's at stake. 5 in a row here in Duval have gone the other way. Houston has just had Jacksonville's number. Actually, they had won 9 straight before the Jags went out and won there back on New Year's Day. So what does that mean? Well, for Trevor Lawrence spent a little bit of the House of the Horrors right here in Duval against Houston. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in his 2 games here. Couple of picks, been sacked 3 times, really has a bad quarterback rating as well, somewhere in the neighborhood of 65. So let me ask you, what is the Jaguars' identity? What type of team is this right now? A defensive team? They're struggling to run the ball. They're not getting it done offensively the way that you would like, including on 3rd down, consecutive 3 of 12 efforts, only 25%. That is worse than the NFL, and 1 of 5 on 4th down. I think it's a huge game for the Jaguars for a lot of reasons. Number one, before you go to London for 2 weeks, you want to be able to get back on the winning side. Number two, the effort and the coaching is going to be big in this game. It includes a lot of different things like first-round draft picks. Anton Harrison, who did not have a good game last week in that loss against Kansas City, and Chris Jones. Was it all his fault? No. He should have had help, whether it be a tight end or back to chip. Wasn't the case. What does he do today against Will Anderson Jr.? That's going to be interesting. I think you'll see a balanced attack. Look for the Jaguars to establish the run early. Only 13 carries for running backs a week ago, 42 passes. That's not the average you want. I'm looking for over 30 as far as running today and over 30 when it comes to passing. Houston rolls in here, got a rookie quarterback, got a rookie center, got a rookie head coach, and they are completely beaten up. The offensive line as well as the secondary. Love the Jaguars big today. Let's double it up on Houston. How does 34-17 sound?
I think it sounds good to anybody who's listening right now. They would take 34-33 if it means a win and a 2-0 mark in the division. But more importantly, everyone would like to see the Jaguars get off to a good start and carry it all the way through. If they're going to get that done today, the Jaguars' defense is going to have to be a factor for the 3rd straight week. They carried the day the first 2 weeks. Doug Peterson said as much. They created pressure, they caused turnovers, and they gave the offense a chance to find some rhythm. The defensive front is playing particularly well right now, despite the injury to Devon Hamilton, who might be its most dominant player. They're off to a good start because it's important to them and because this group knows it's on them to keep things going.
We had a bunch of guys with pride, and they knew last year wasn't their best to start the season off, but they saw what they could be at the end of the season, so they used all that wisdom coming back to not start over, but start from where we had finished off last year.
Is that common in the NFL to have these guys take that big of a step in 1 year?
You would want to say yes, but I've been other places where it's not like that. I just think the guys here are so prideful, and the guys worked hard. They asked the right questions, and then when we came out on the field, they knew what to expect from us, and they tried to build toward that. So the standard went a little bit higher now, and so I just think that's just a credit to the group of guys we have in the locker room, the leadership we have.
I think when you have Roy, Foley, and Devon Hamilton all on the field at the same time, you have a dominant defensive front, but you haven't had a chance to really have them yet. How have you overcome the fact that you've had to deal with injuries?
Well, because we say in our room from there, if you're in this room, we expect you to play. Our standard is our standard. So we don't ask with Devon being out. Guys know how good he is, but we don't ask Ledbetter to be Devon. We ask Ledbetter to be the best Ledbetter he can. As long as he's the best Ledbetter he can be and fit in our defense, we can go out there and play. So, and no, I'm not surprised at all because I know how much these guys root for one another. And it's a thing with those guys, they don't want to let Devon down because they know how much he wanted to be out there. So they're just like, hey, man, we're going to keep it going until you get back and you come help put us over the top.
It's not just Ledbetter. Tyler Lacey was playing last week and played pretty well. You've also got Angelo Blackson, who's come in here, who came at the end of training camp. How do you mix a group of guys that's already strong with some new guys?
Well, no, we know in Lacey, being a rookie and, that's been his first game since the first preseason game, but just trying to keep him in situations where I know he can have success so he can build off that. But one thing he know, the guys are telling Roy and those guys say, the standard is the standard. You're not a rookie when you walk out on that field. You are a Jacksonville Jaguar defensive member, and you got to live up to it. And Angelo is a guy I have history with. The one thing about Angelo, he's going to come in, he's a quick learner, but because he plays so hard, there's always a spot for guys to play like that.
I have to ask you about Roy. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with him, and he said that last year was special for him because he had never won before, not in high school, not in college, not a bowl game, not in the NFL. What have you seen from him in the time that you've been with Roy?
I just seen a guy who's taking a step maturity-wise and growth-wise, because a lot of people don't understand losing is just as contagious as winning. If you always lost, your body and your mind can start ready for that to happen because you already know how to react. But Roy got a taste of it. He got a taste of how hard you have to work for it. He got a taste of guys around him wanting to win. So he's come back with a different attitude. He said, I've got all the money I wish I could have. I'm in the NFL. Now it's all about winning. And the way he prepares, the way he try to lead, the way he try to study is carrying over on the field.
You get a rookie quarterback for the second time in 3 weeks. Is that as much of an advantage as it would seem on the outside?
No, because all these guys are NFL quarterbacks, whether they're rookies or not. You look at this guy's numbers, he's putting up numbers. He was drafted high. So, he's out there, he's playing well. And it's not an advantage because they're a pro team. They got good coaches. They got an offensive line to understand the situation behind them. And then you have to play a little bit harder for those guys. But I just think you have to go out there and do what you do, because if you just put so much into, he's a rookie quarterback, then you look up, he's thrown for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, because he is an NFL quarterback.
We spend so much time talking about the pass rush and sacks and the big play. It's like the dunk in basketball, right? But 30 years ago, a veteran defensive lineman said stopping the run is nothing more than an attitude. Do you agree with that? And does this team have it?
I agree. It's all about attitude, because we said in our room, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. But, playing the run, you got to get that attitude. You got to say, hey, this man finna hit me in my mouth, and it might be 2 of them, and I'm going to take it for the betterment of the team. And so that's the mentality that we go into it. We got to stop the run. We know it's a passing lead, so let's make you one-dimensional. But I'm starting to see the guys starting to feed and take pride, when a guy break a run, because they understand it shouldn't be that way. And now we just got to continue to build on it and keep on building on it.
Let's end on this. You have a fun, tight-knit group. How much fun is it for you with this group of guys to go to work every day and get ready for Sunday?
Oh, it's a great group of guys, because like I told them, I'm not their coach. I've been there. I'm like the big brother that's walked your footsteps. And so we try to have fun all the time. We have to say in our room, it's a game. I know if I'm not having fun playing a game, I'm not playing that game no more. So, we have fun. I look forward to coming to work every day because it's a new challenge every day. The guys are a lot looser. They like one another. They like being at work. And I think it helps us as a total group, because everybody looks forward to being together for the 4 or 5 hours we are together, and it makes for a good group.
When this defensive line group, Mike, is up and active, they really have the potential to be excellent. But they're playing without Devon Hamilton.
Yep.
And I don't know, I don't have a timeline. Doug keeps saying it's going to be a while. I just get the feel that perhaps the earliest we might see Devon Hamilton would be after the bye week, in November. So they keep getting it done with guys like Orlando Ledbetter and Adam Gotsis. They better keep getting it done with those guys, because it's going to be a while before they have their group together.
Right. They've got to continue to do that. It's good that they've been able to so far, but there's a reason you paid Devon Hamilton a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Right? He's your best interior player. At least you believe he's going to be.
He's one of the best players on this defense. People don't know it because he doesn't put up sacks.
And he might have. I think they were thinking he might be in for a little bit of a breakout in the pass rush department here. Foley Fatukasi will play today, but he's banged up as well. Look, the Texans will probably try to run the ball with Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary to some degree. They've been falling behind. They've had to pass a lot, and the receivers are making good plays for them, but they would love to be able to shorten this game today if possible.
All right, folks, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. It's loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. At 11, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. But before we get to hour number 2, Jeff Loggeman and Tony Baselli join us from the booth. The Texans and Jaguars kick off at 1 o'clock in Week 3, and you're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative, results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your Workforce Solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou-Ray Peanut Company. Lou-Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
For you. With a bundle at the bank, you can purchase tickets to 3 or more games starting at just $58 per game. Get the flexibility you want for your time this fall. Visit jaguars.com/tickets or dial up 904-633-2000. And now time for First Rounds on Us. And Jeff Loggeman and Tony Baselli join us from the booth here at EverBank Stadium. Gentlemen, good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Brian?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. Let's start with our UF Health Finding Solutions. UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's their game plan. How do you fix the middle of the Jaguars' offensive line if you agree with the idea that has been around all week long that that's where the weak spot is?
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that from the standpoint of how if you watch the first 2 games. Now, they played 2 really good defensive tackles week 1, and they played one of the best defensive tackles in the entire league in Chris Jones, but some average guys gave him trouble last week as well. And right now, Barge, Fortner, and Sheriff aren't playing very good football and aren't playing very physical football. And I think the biggest problem we have right now is a lack of run game, because in the middle we're getting controlled, no movement, some leakage in the pass. And then you had Anton Harris last week, who really struggled with Chris Jones. It's not a good combination, Brian. And how do you fix it? Well, one, you got to have better technique. You got to trust your technique. And two, to me, it's always a little bit of, I'm going to call it want to. I'm not saying they don't want to, but you just have to make your mind up. I'm going to go be as physical as I can and go take the fight to the other team.
And it doesn't help that Fortner and Sheriff have been battling ankle injuries, and Barch is coming back from a knee. And look, I put a large part of that responsibility from last week's game on the coaching staff. When you got Chris Jones that lines up on your rookie, and then you fail to have an answer, that's on the coaches, you know. I mean, Travis Etienne should have been putting a helmet in the ribs of Chris Jones in that ball game, and that would have slowed him down a bunch.
Well, Jeff, but one more. I want to just respond to something you said about the injuries. I'm not saying they're not. Obviously, they're beat up, 2 ankle injuries. But you and I both know in this game, you step on the field.
Yeah, it's good.
There's no excuses.
Yeah, you got to go.
If you're good enough to go on the field, you go play, and you can't use that as an out. And I'm not saying Sheriff or Fortner are, but I think some of the narrative is like, well, they're hurt. Well, guess what? It's week 2 of a 17-game season, 18-week season with the bye, and so usually injuries don't get a whole lot better if you keep on playing. No. Maybe when you get to the bye week, and so you got to fight through it.
I think I think they've got a really good offensive line coach in Phil Rauscher.
Yep.
And look, I think they're going to stay the course. And I mean, there's really not a whole lot of things that you can do differently other than to just try to get these guys to play better. And I think they will. And I think a strong running game will help everybody. But offensive line, coaching staff, quarterback, all of that.
But, Jeff, to get a good running game, you got to control the interior of that offensive line. And right now we're not. Now, I think this is a get-right game.
Oh, my gosh.
Because
the front 7 of the Texans
not very talented.
Great. They're not great.
Let me ask you one question, Jeff and Brian. Would you put Shatley in at left guard? If you go back to last year, when Shatley was in there is when they made that run in the second half of the season and were playing their best football.
I would.
Barch is struggling. Would you put him in, Brian?
Well, I would, yes, because Trevor has a great relationship and trusts Tyler Shatley on and off the field. And I think that based on that decision on the goal line last week to pull the ball and run, it seemed to me like maybe he's just a little out of sorts. I think I might put Shatley in just to calm him down, Jeff.
I think it's a consideration, but I think you got to have a little bit of patience before you commit to making a change, because sometimes when you make a change, it sends the wrong message.
It's hard to go back.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't want to do until you start getting really frustrated. But I'm going to stick with what I said. If you have a really good running game, you stay committed to it. It helps everybody, and I think Etienne also having a strong outing today would help the offensive line gain some confidence and get moving a little bit.
Yeah, and Brian, what Jeff just said is so true. In this game, and having been on a bunch of different offensive lines, sometimes you just need that get-right game where you see it on film and you kind of build that confidence, because these guys have gotten beat up by good players the last couple of weeks. I do think if they can go have success today against a not very good front 7 from the Texans, that's something they can build on and get some of that confidence back.
Well, guys, speaking of teams that need a get-right game on the offensive line, it's the Texans themselves missing 4 starters there. 6 sacks last week of C.J. Stroud by the Indianapolis Colts. Is this a get-right game for the Jaguars pass rush today?
Well, I hope so, Mike. But I will say this. There's a couple guys on the Texans' offensive line I think are doing pretty well. George Fant at right tackle has been doing pretty good. But the real problem with the Texans has been the absence of Laramie Tunsil. And he's one of the best left tackles in the game. And the Texans have had kind of to play a little bit of musical chairs. They've taken their normal starting left guard, moved him to left tackle. And then Kendrick Green, a first-round draft pick from last year, has been a backup, and then he's been pushed into the starting lineup, and I think that goes to show you that he wasn't worth a first-round pick. And they've got a rookie center starting, and that wasn't really their expected starting center because they drafted Juice Scruggs in the second round out of Penn State. So, I mean, it's definitely an offensive line that's in flux, and Dameon Pierce is averaging a little bit over 2.5 yards a carry. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of a get-right game. But the one thing I will say, look, C.J. Stroud is a really good young quarterback. Loved his college tape, everything that I've seen so far from him. He is effortless. And Tony and I were talking. One of the first things we talked about this morning was C.J. Stroud. I mean, you have to defend the entirety of the field because his arm can find it anywhere.
Yeah, I would agree with Jeff on C.J. Stroud. You better get to him because that cat can play. Watching the tape, and I was, I did this is my 4th game in 8 days, guys, so I didn't even start watching tape on the Texans till Saturday morning after getting back from San Francisco. And I turned on the tape, and everyone had talked about how he holds the ball too much, so on and so forth. I didn't see any of that. I saw a kid who's great in the pocket, who has a super, uber talented right arm, who's accurate. And yeah, he's a rookie. Could he have done some different things, and maybe he misses somebody here or there? But that dude is talented, and I'm not sure how the other teams passed on him and let him get to the Texans.
So very surprising. If the Texans can find a little bit of a rushing game today, it'll make C.J. Stroud's job a lot easier, and he's got a lot of chemistry right now with Nico Collins, who's guy's fast, he's long, he's a big-time player, and he's a young player, and I think that's obviously going to be priority number 1 for the Jaguars to stop in the passing game.
Quick thought, because we only have 30 seconds. How much does one win do for this team to get it back on track?
I think it does a ton, and especially gives this team a boost getting ready to pack up and fly across the pond and play 2 games in London. And look, the reality is that if you're going to be who you thought you were going to be, you win a game like this at home. I don't care about the history with the Houston Texans. You win a game like this at home against a rookie quarterback if you're going to be that team.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great broadcast today.
Thank you, boys.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
And that'll do it for hour number 1. The adults in the room. JP Shadrick has just walked in, and he will be sitting in this chair in mere moments. Can you keep him under control?
No,
I was talking to
chance.
JP about you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Mike,
well, no chance.
Thanks for spending the hour with me. I appreciate it.
Safe trip to London.
You got it. Looking forward to talking to you next week. JP Shadrick's in. I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softee.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from Week 3. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up with a 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. Today's game is presented by Renewal by Anderson, a better way to a better window. Visit rbafla.com. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. Home game, division game, London trip coming up. Got to get this one today, Mike.
You have to get this one, and not only because you feel like you're better than Houston, but Houston's team is decimated with injuries. Offensive line, secondary, middle linebacker, all just key pieces are going to be out today for the Texans, and you've got a rookie quarterback. Their number one pass rusher is playing in his 3rd game in the National Football League. There are no excuses for the Jags, and they're not going to make any excuses, JP, but I don't want to hear about a bad week of practice if things don't go their way this time. That there is no reason not to have full focus on the Houston Texans today.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Another warm one today. Bright sunny skies, a high of 90 degrees. You can bring 1 sealed bottle of water in. There will be water stations around EverBank Stadium, we're told today. You can refill those for free once you get inside. Let's get to some of today's top stories, starting with the Jaguars struggling in key offensive situations last week. Head coach Doug Peterson knows the clock is ticking, though, and he needs a little urgency from this team.
You know, we got to look at it from a coaching standpoint, right? We got to look at the scheme. Are we doing the right things? Is what the defense, giving us what we anticipated on tape? Are there some changes there? Because sometimes that happens, and then we have to adjust in game sometimes. But I know it's early, but we're running out of the early excuse a little bit, and we've got to get it addressed pretty quick.
Yeah, he understands that you can't really put this away. They can't count on what happened at the end of last season, whatever. You got to get this done now because of what's coming up. You got some good teams on the schedule the next few weeks. Every week is tough to begin with, but you got to start figuring some of these things out and finishing.
Right, you can't carry over things from last year, but you do carry over a lot of personnel, right? And that did have a lot of success in the second half of the season. So it's very surprising that this has been such a major issue already. And, Trevor Lawrence has had some slow starts, but particularly in the red zone last week, poor decision-making, poor execution. Not only Trevor, coaching staff decisions, the receivers, could they have gotten their feet in on a couple of those balls on the back line of the end zone? Everybody needs to play a little bit better, JP, but you cannot squander those opportunities against any team in the National Football League. Certainly one like the Chiefs. You can't be kicking field goals constantly. Jags need to do a much better job in the red zone today.
Trevor Lawrence getting a lot of pressure early in this season, but the quarterback has belief in the offensive line and the offense as a whole moving ahead.
I know those guys are we had some great meetings this morning like we always do on Wednesdays, and some of our protection stuff, and these guys are going to be just fine. Not worried about it. It's all of us. It's all of us playing together and communicating, and I don't think any player on offense played anywhere close to their best game on Sunday, so it's not just those guys. We all got to be better, and we will be. And I think we have the group that recognizes that. There's nobody that thinks that they played great on Sunday and thinks that they're above anyone else. So we understand where we're at.
Wide receiver Christian Kirk knows this group has enough players to get the job done on offense.
I think we've been together long enough right now, and we've been in so many different games that have been close like that, to where we make the unbelievable play. Somebody makes the unbelievable play, and we know the type of talent that we have. And so I think at times, guys start to go searching for that play, and you think that it's just going to happen out of nowhere when really, you just need to take it play by play. Take what the defense is giving you and just make the plays when they come to you. So I think that's where the pressing comes. I think it comes from a positive standpoint, not so much a negative. We just know how good we are, and we think that, one play is going to just flip the game from us. But against teams like that, that's not going to happen.
And finally, from the play caller himself, offensive coordinator Press Taylor understands that Everyone can't go for the big play all the time. Run the offense.
At times, you fight the feeling of, all right, we need a big play here. We need to spark momentum. Kind of what got us going last year a little bit was just sticking to our plan. We built a game plan that we believed in. We execute the plan regardless of the situation, and we chip away at whatever we needed to do to get ourselves going. And so you fight the urge to, have to start digging and looking for the big play when it's not necessarily there. And Coach talks to the team all the time about, make the play that comes to you, don't go chasing plays. And that applies to all of us as coaches with, as myself as the play caller, the same idea.
All right, Mike Dempsey, a lot to go through here. Let's start on the offensive line. We heard Tony and Jeff talking about that group up front, and, there's been some pressure on the quarterback. It is week 3. You got to just continue to build and move forward up front, right? Well,
I don't know what else you can do. Yeah. You can't make wholesale changes. You can consider Tyler Shatley for Ben Barch right now, but, until Cam Robinson gets back, I think you're going with the guys that you have for the most part here, JP, and there are going to be some growing pains with Anton Harrison. As talented as we believe him to be, still a rookie right tackle, and he was facing off against Chris Jones last week and didn't get a whole lot of help from the coaching staff. Didn't get a lot of extra blocking assistance with Jones, whether that was part of the plan or even switching it up in-game. I thought they could have tried some different things, so that was disappointing. Look, last week you just almost need to just throw it out and hope that it becomes the aberration. But this is the offensive line group. Will Anderson is going to be coming with bad intention today, and he may be a rookie, but he's going up against a rookie a lot of the time, if they flip him onto that side. And you're going to have to keep Trevor Lawrence protected. He gets rid of the ball so quickly that it's even more disturbing that he's under as much pressure as he is, because he is a guy that doesn't need as much time as a lot of quarterbacks to dissect the play and decide where to go with the football.
And, a lot of these plays have been designed to get it out fast, too.
Yes.
In the flat, in short routes to the receivers to the side. That's kind of what they've been doing to help out that line a little bit.
Right.
more.
And, people have asked where are the deep shots. And there are different kinds of deep shots. Not everything's a 5 and 7 step drop and you throw the big bend down the field. But they haven't really had the time to throw those kind of plays. So that play is not a big part of it. 20, 25-yard passes are about the limit of where they're pushing the ball down the field. Don't know if that's going to change today, by the way. Zay Jones, one of your primary deep threats, won't be playing. It doesn't mean Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk can't get deep, but the Jags need to worry about just completing some of the easier stuff right now and keeping the defensive line off Trevor Lawrence before they worry about connecting on the long stuff.
Let's go to the defense now. Safety Andre Sisco had an interception last week, the 4th in his career. He had one early in the game, though, that he dropped. It could have been a pick 6, and he described both of them this week.
It's funny, yeah. It stays in the air so long, especially because you see the reps over and over, watching it on film. So when it comes to life, you're like, oh, I have to make this, It's what you work on, and then for it to, make a play and potentially change the game is always good. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me is coming into games, being ready to make the play right away. It's such an early opportunity, and sometimes you think you got to get warmed up with teams, but you can get an opportunity, first, second, third play to change the game, so I got to be ready.
Made a great play on the ball, just got to handle it and get home. That would have changed the whole dynamic.
But we sit here and go, this play had gone this way or that play, and the Chiefs could do the same thing, right? It's not like they played their best game, but you get an opportunity, and it's so clearly defined. You catch that ball, there's nobody in front of you in the goal line, and Andre Sisco was drafted to be a ball hawk, playmaker type as he was at Syracuse. I'm sure he wants that one back. It was great that he made the other interception, and that resulted from pressure, one of the rare pressures on Patrick Mahomes, which is good as well. But when those free 6 points are laying out there for you, no excuses. You got to come up with it.
Yeah, when the offense doesn't get 6 points on a touchdown, yes, those defensive scores would come in handy. Josh Allen, Jaguars outside linebacker, looking for winning results, and he doesn't really care how it comes.
A win's a win. If it was the offense that won us a game, I'm celebrating. If it's the defense that won us a game, I'm celebrating. Special teams, I'm celebrating. So no matter the way it looks, get the job done. It's going to be huge. This is a divisional game. It's probably the most important game, as Doug said, because it's the next one. And to be 2-0 in our conference, in our division, is huge. You know, we're trying to win that South.
It was Josh Allen. He had 3 sacks week 1, shut out last week, trying to get back on track against C.J. Stroud this time around. Bootleggers, get ready. Luke Combs is bringing 2 nights of the Growing Up and Getting Old tour at EverBank Stadium May 3rd and 4th, 2024, with different special guests each night. Tickets on sale now. For more info, visit everbankstadium.com. Jaguars reporter Kai Stevens joining us in studio, and week 3 is here. Rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud making the start for Houston. First of all, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good to see you guys. Happy to be here.
Likewise.
As always.
Yeah, and Stroud, the number 2 overall pick for the Houston Texans. So far, so good. He's taking a lot of pressure. He's taking a beating, like 19 hits this year, 11 sacks. But he hasn't thrown an interception yet, and it's interesting to hear him talk to the media and his approach to it. He obviously is the future in Houston right now.
And he's saying all the right things. Obviously, their offensive line makes our offensive line look like not a problem because they've got 4 out of 5 out, and then they've allowed those 11 sacks on Stroud. But he's still, among the top in passing yards for the league, and he's really standing in the pocket and dealing with it. And what I was most impressed with, I listened to some of his availabilities this week, and Stroud says all the right things, but also he seems to be taking to scouting pretty well because of exactly how he detailed out the Jaguars' defense.
First and foremost, their D-line, 44 and 41, great players, set the edge, run around, play well. Their D-line, really stout, really big, and their linebackers, 23, 33. I actually played against Devin in college. 2 really good players, not only in the run game, but also in pass coverage. 32 Campbell, he's a really good DB. Cisco, somebody I know personally, he's a good dude, very aggressive, very good in coverage, but also is constantly making good tackles. Same thing with 2, and then 37 comes in, plays a nickel, plays really well. 31's a solid corner. I didn't want to name drop. I know all their names too, but sorry. But great defense all the way around.
I think we talk about, coming to the NFL, one of the big things is studying film. I don't know how he studies film. I don't know if he studies it well, but at least he can name check everybody. And he said, he's like, I know everybody's names, but I would just go by their numbers for this part.
It seems like that was a fairly simple question that was asked, and he went in depth on it. And that's a good start for a rookie, Mike, to have that kind of head about him. Now you have to go execute the plays against that defense, too. That's where it really gets tough for a rookie.
Of course, but, he was drafted 2nd overall for a reason. He's got the potential to do that, and I think Kai, really one of the most impressive things is not the yardage. You throw that often in the National Football League. You're going to put up yardage. It's the fact that he hasn't thrown an interception at this point, despite the fact that he's been under constant harassment, averaging 5.5 sacks given up a game. Let's hope the Jags can change that today.
Yeah.
I think we may see that first interception here today because we talked a little bit about this on Jags AM with John Oehser and Brian Sexton. They still have hope, right? They're a new coach, new quarterback team where it's not late in the season where they're 0-8 or something like that. They're 0-2. They still have a lot of hope for themselves. But when he takes a couple more sacks today, it's hot out there. I think he might get a little frustrated. And then if he's getting the rush all day, if Josh Allen's out there, as we saw him practice this week, and kind of putting that pressure on him, he might let the ball go a little earlier than he wants to.
They haven't really run the ball this year. Dameon Pierce hasn't had much to show yet.
Not that we've seen. They're definitely trying to see what they got in Stroud so far, so maybe they'll switch that up today. I have no idea what the game plan is for them, but it'll be interesting for sure.
Oh, they've been behind, right? So you tend to abandon the run, and the offensive line is a war zone. It's as bad a situation as anyone's offensive line is in the league, so it's not that surprising they've had not much success on the ground.
Jags AM airs when?
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday on YouTube and Jaguars.com.
All right. You and John and Brian. You just name-dropped them all, just like he name-dropped the Jags defense. You name-dropped all those guys.
All those guys. We will be there all week. Of course, we recap everything on Monday and then preview stuff the rest of the week.
Have a great day today.
Thanks, guys.
That's Kai Stevens, Jaguars reporter, joining us. We're about 15 minutes away from the inactives for today's game. Up next, DP Sidhu of the Houston Texans joining us to break down Will Anderson Jr., another first-round rookie for the Texans. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time in Week 3, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field-goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens. Plus, easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. We're inside 2 hours from Week 3. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up. A 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. Should be a nice sunny and warm day again today. So hydrate properly. You can bring a bottle of water into the bank, and you can refill it. There will be refilling stations around the concourse today, so do that early and often today, and stay hydrated. It's going to be another hot one here in late September. This Texans team, as Kai just talked about, there's a lot of new head coach, new quarterback, new defensive end. They've got a rookie middle linebacker playing. There's a lot. It's the rebuilding of this franchise in Houston. We'll hear from DP Sadu coming up on the first-round picks, but D'Amico Ryans making a quick ascension to the top as a head coach in the NFL, working his way through the San Francisco system as a defensive assistant, was a linebacker in this league for a long time. But, I think he's going to get some time in Houston. They love him down there, obviously, as a player, to build this thing the right way. It's going to take a little bit of time for the Texans.
Well, he's beloved in Houston, right, as a member, one of the better players that's ever played for that organization. He comes from an organization now on his coaching resume where they're considered one of the best staffs in the National Football League in San Francisco, and they've had a lot of success, so they expect that to carry over. And, I think the fact, JP, that they've run through several coaches in rapid-fire succession also helps him out because you don't want to keep that trend going. So I think for a lot of reasons, he's going to be dug in there. We're going to see a lot of D'Amico Ryans, and having a rookie quarterback and so much new kind of gives you a built-in reason why you're maybe not going to have a lot of win-loss success in your first season.
This is one of the, obviously, the divisional teams with rookie quarterbacks, and in theory, there could be a third if Levis gets in the lineup in Tennessee at some point this season. So, this is the division for the taking for the Jags. You got 3 rookie quarterbacks going against.
Yeah, Levis needs to climb over Malik Willis at the present time to move up that depth chart, and Ryan Tannehill played well last week, but we've been talking about it all season. It's if there's a race, it's a two-team race, likely between Jacksonville and Tennessee, the two teams that came down to last year. I'm sure Houston, again, I talked about this with Brian Sexton, they should be confident. They've won 5 straight road games against Jacksonville, 1 in London, 4 here in Jacksonville. So they're going to come in thinking they're going to win a football game today. But the reality is when you stack the rosters up and do an objective analysis, the Jags are flat out better than the Colts. They're flat out better than the Texans. I think they're better than the Titans as well. But that team's got some grit and will probably be around a lot longer than we are comfortable with this season.
Yeah, it's never a comfortable feeling at all when those guys are in it down the stretch. Let's get a Texans perspective on today's game. DP Sidhu is a Texans insider and lead writer for HoustonTexans.com. And this week she gave us insight to the 2 first-round picks in Houston, starting with quarterback C.J. Stroud.
I think the thing with him is he just has come in with this mentality of a winner. I mean, JP, I went to Purdue. I do not like Ohio State, but I have to say they really have a top-notch program, and he's come from Ohio State, and he's played on such a big platform, and I don't think he uses anything as an excuse. Even the hurt shoulder, the banged-up O-line, none of it was an excuse. And I didn't know what to expect from him in week 2. Week 1, he didn't throw any touchdowns, but week 2, he threw for 384 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He's not had an interception in the first 2 weeks of play. Now, there have been some strip sacks. There's been sacks that he probably shouldn't have taken. There's been some fumbles here and there. But as far as his passing, everything that we had heard about him coming out of Ohio State, like you said, the pinpoint accuracy, ball placement is the one thing that I heard so much about. And, I think a lot of people, we were talking about this on Texans All Access as well, that a lot of people said, okay, but look at his receivers. I mean, he's had Garrett Wilson. He's had Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got all these top-notch receivers that are all like first-round draft picks. I mean, I tell you, he comes in here, and he's making these receivers have the best games of their career. Nico Collins, who was here in 2020, who has really struggled at times, looked great in camp, but just never really put together standout games, had 146 yards receiving and a touchdown. Tank Dell, the rookie, over 70 yards receiving and a touchdown. He's really made the receiver shine, and it's a credit to CJ because with an offensive line as banged up as it is, even with a veteran quarterback, if he's not able to throw the ball, get the ball out on time, you'd understand it. Now, that's not to say the run game hasn't struggled behind this O-line. Like, I don't think they want to see CJ throwing 47 times with a hurt shoulder like he did against Indianapolis. So that there definitely are some issues with how do we get this run game going, but I think CJ's confidence right now is not one of them. He is hard on himself even when he does have a great performance because he didn't win. I think that's the thing that I think the players in the locker room really respect about him. That's why they voted him a team captain as a rookie. I think they see that hunger in him and his drive to win. And I think mentally he is really, really tough. You just hope that you get some players back on the O-line and give him a little bit of time and his shoulder heals up and then see what he's really able to do.
And then not only did you have a number 2 overall pick quarterback, but traded back up to number 3 and picked up Will Anderson from Alabama. Yeah, it's a couple games in. What do you like about him so far? Is there still a projection that he could be that next wave of big-time generational defensive player in Houston?
Yeah, I mean, you've probably watched a lot of Alabama games, JP. You know what Will Anderson's capable of. I think that if people were talking about a sure thing in the draft, Will Anderson was it. And I think we learned really early on in camp. In fact, D'Amico Ryans even said, you have to kind of hold him back because there are no pads, there's no tackling. But a lot of times in training camp, you'd look, you'd blink, and there he is in the backfield just standing there. And you couldn't wait till he was able to go up against, quarterbacks not wearing a Texans jersey. And in week 1, I mean, what a test to go up against Lamar Jackson. He gets a sack on him. Hurried him 6 times. I mean, his stat sheet was littered with numbers against a guy that is tough to bring down, tough to tackle, tough to corral. And I think that was what really impressed everyone about Will Anderson Jr., the fact that he's able to do that against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now at escaping top-notch defenders. The issue with Will Anderson is that it wasn't really duplicated in week 2, but that was also the entire defense. And a lot of that is when you're playing from behind. The Colts got off to an early 14-0 lead in the first quarter. And so that is not what anybody expected. You're playing from behind. Your pass rush isn't really playing the way it should. You're not as disciplined. Maybe you're trying to do a little too much to get yourself back in the game. But I think as far as Will Anderson's concerned, he is a guy that was a leader in the locker room at Alabama, comes in here, and everyone's seen the way that he works, his work ethic. D'Amico Ryans, who was known for his work ethic, is talking about a rookie's work ethic and how he works really hard, stays after practice. He's just such a likable guy. Great head on his shoulders.
That's DP Sidhu of HoustonTexans.com with an inside look at C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. Rare you get the number 2 and number 3 picks in a draft, and they're hoping that is the building block of a franchise rebuild in Houston. It is week 3. Mike Dempsey, let's go around the National Football League.
All right, as always, let's start in the rest of the AFC South. Today, the 1-1 Tennessee Titans are in Cleveland, taking on the 1-1 Browns. DeAndre Hopkins listed as questionable, but did make the trip, expected to play for Tennessee today. Cleveland, of course, will start Jerome Ford at running back after losing starter Nick Chubb to a season-ending knee injury on Monday Night Football, and then they went out and re-signed former Brown Kareem Hunt this week, who should be active, but the Ford expected to start. But good news, if there is some in this situation, is that Nick Chubb apparently only had an MCL injury, avoided an ACL tear. That looked pretty devastating on Monday night. 6 to 8 months are saying the timetable for recovery, so he should be good for next season. The Indianapolis Colts looking for their second win in a row following a season-opening defeat at the hands of the Jaguars. The Colts in Baltimore to take on the 2-0 Ravens, and they'll be led by former Jaguar quarterback Gardner Minshew as rookie starter Anthony Richardson failed to clear the league's concussion protocol this week. The Colts also making a change at running back this week. Opening day starter Deion Jackson was let go. Former 49er and Eagle Trey Sermon signed to the active roster. Of course, regular starter Jonathan Taylor has been on the physically unable to perform list since the beginning of the year. He is hopeful to return in Week 5. However, some other players to keep an eye on around the league today. Dallas offensive tackle Tyron Smith is expected to play, but Zach Martin and Tyler Biadasz, I know I said that wrong, are both questionable at best to suit up for the Cowboys today. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, pair of receivers for Detroit, both questionable, both expected to play. Jeff Okudah, recently the number 3 overall pick in the draft by the Detroit Lions, already on his second team, is going to work out pregame to see if he can make his season debut battling a foot injury, and if so, he'll go up against his former team as the Atlanta Falcons are in Detroit today. And one from around the league as the NFL prepares to play 3 games over the next 3 Sundays, including 2 with the Jaguars involved in London. The league reportedly already preparing to play future international games in Spain and Brazil. Earlier this month, the NFL sending officials to investigate the possibility of playing the first NFL regular season games in Madrid, Rio de Janeiro, and Sao Paulo as soon as next season.
Oh, wow. That's coming in hot. Of course, yeah, you mentioned the 3 weeks ahead.
Never
and
stops.
then I think there's a week off, and then there are 2 Germany games back-to-back this year because Mexico, the stadium there is being refurbished ahead of the World Cup, I believe. So here we go. The international games coming up very soon. Let's get through today first. Of course, all the conversations from the week available in the official Jaguars podcast network. It's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. Jaguars.com also. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Coming up in about 15 minutes, a fantasy forecast and Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. Up next, though, a pregame Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Ogier. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff in week number 3. The Texans and Jaguars coming up. Inactives are next, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/fieldgoals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Cisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou Ray Peanut Company. Lou Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates Frequent Shopper Clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens. Plus, easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. Divisional matchup today. The Jaguars at 1-1, trying to get a W in their back pocket before they head over to London next week. Let's get to the inactives today. The Jaguars have 5 players down for today's game. Zay Jones, wide receiver with a knee injury, is out. Parker Washington has not been active yet this year. He is inactive for today's game. Elijah Cooks, wide receiver, is down today. Jermichael Hasty, reserve running back, is out. And rookie safety Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M has not played this season, has not practiced yet this year with a hamstring injury in the regular season at least. And yesterday the Jaguars elevated wide receiver Jacob Harris to the active roster from the practice squad via the standard elevation, and he is active and available for the Jaguars today, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see if you get some run today with Zay being out. For the Texans, kind of a who's who of their football team out today. Laramie Tunsil, their left tackle, not going to play. Starters include Jalen Petrie, their free safety, Tavier Thomas, one of their starting cornerbacks. Former Jaguar running back Dario Gunbowale, of course, their middle linebacker Denzel Perriman's down today. Defensive end Derek Rivers also inactive, and the Colts have named Case Keenum the Texans named Case Keenum the emergency third quarterback for the game today. So officially 6 inactives, with Keenum being the emergency QB.
I mean, that defense taking a hit this week in Houston.
And that's Derek Stingley already ruled out. Yeah. I mean, so you got 3 corners or safeties combined out of your 5 starters, if you consider the nickel corner a starter, that are all out in the secondary. Your starting middle linebacker, 4/5 of your offensive line, JP. I mean, there's no excuses for the Jags to be able to go out there and take advantage of some of these deficiencies today.
There you have it. The inactives are in for Week 3. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up. Let's go up to the broadcast booth and welcome in NFL Network analyst Bucky Brooks and Jaguars.com senior writer John Oehser. Ahead of this divisional matchup, the Jaguars trying to get this win and go 2-0 in the division early in this season. And let's start with those injuries for Houston, guys. Bucky, that is a lot out on the back end of this defense today in Houston.
Yeah, a lot out on the back end, but guess what? We don't care. It's a game for us to get right. Can't worry about what is going on with them. If anything, you just want to line up, take care of business, and get out of here with a win. This is a maturity test for the Jacksonville Jaguars because the backups are going to be excited to play. They're going to bring a different level of energy from their side. It's about the Jaguars executing, make sure they take care of business.
Yeah, you don't get that many, especially early in the season,
And even late in the season, you don't get that many games where you're playing 4/5 back up on the offensive line, the entire secondary basically out. Shaq Griffin. Shaq Griffin struggled in his last year in Jacksonville. There are obvious things to go after. Doesn't always work out in the NFL where you get the W in that situation, but if there's a game that favors going after that sort of matchup, this is it. And it's a game, frankly, that they ought to take control of by halftime and feel good about. I never say blowout, but I think they should feel good and comfortable that they've controlled this game at some point.
Guys, Jaguars offense just did not get it done in the red zone last week. What do they need to change? What could get better in 1 week's time?
Execution. Simplify and execute better, meaning Doug Peterson and Press Taylor have to cut down the amount of volume that they have on the play sheet when it comes down to the red zone. Hopefully throughout the course of the week they've repped those plays a million times over so everyone knows exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how to get it done. And then it's about the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, being comfortable enough to make the plays that he's being asked to make in the red zone, knowing that points are coveted at a premium, no turnovers, got to make the plays that are there.
Now, Bucky, when you say simplify, is that simplifying choices players are making during play or stuff they're working on during the week, or both?
All of it.
Okay.
I think it is about trying to find a way to allow the players to play fast, and players can't play fast when their mind is cluttered. So Doug Peterson, he talked about this after the game, like, hey, we got to find a way to get our guys to play fast. And so that typically means, in coach speak, we got to cut down some of the stuff that we're doing, give the guys the things that they know, and have them do it over and over and over again so everyone is comfortable and confident when they step onto the field on game day.
When in doubt in the NFL, simplify, JP.
Simplify. That's John Oehser and Bucky Brooks upstairs, a pregame Huddle Up podcast. Well, all right, the offensive line, where is this group right now? And there's been a lot of focus on that front five, especially the last week with Chris Jones getting loose a few times against Trevor Lawrence. So how do they move forward, Bucky, as a group up front?
They got to continue to grow together. Some of these things you can't fix by scheme and whatever. It just takes experience. And when you have young players like Walker Little and Anton Harrison, even though Walker Little has played some significant snaps in the league, he still is a young player based on the number of starts in the league.
It's still less than a year of starts. So sure.
It takes a while for guys to learn how to play the NFL way. And you have to go through some of these growing pains with the young offensive line as they're trying to put it together. But as a coaching staff, what you can do is you can help them. You can help them by making sure everyone is on the same page. And as much as you want to help the quarterback and give the quarterback kind of the full menu of items when it comes to pass protection, comes to audibling and checking and all those things, sometimes you have to remember, hey, this offensive line is still trying to figure it out. So let's cut down the items on the menu and let's allow them guys to play and play fast and be aggressive coming off the ball.
Yeah, I also think it's pretty evident, Coach has said this, that they didn't help Harrison enough on the outside against Chris Jones. I'm not sure Will Anderson is Chris Jones level yet. I'm not sure anybody is. But got to watch for that. If one of the players, especially a rookie, you got to help more than that. How do they fix it? Just got to get better. It's the NFL, and at some point, this line hasn't gotten a whole lot of push in the running game. So I don't know if that's fixable in the short term. But I do think you have to stick with it a little bit more than maybe Doug Peterson and Press Taylor, who love to go after numbers in the running game. It sounded this week like they will stick to it a little more, even when they feel like they're being maybe stubborn, JP.
Guys, we know it's tough to get Patrick Mahomes on the ground, but it has not been tough to get C.J. Stroud on the ground. As much as he's throwing it, he's been sacked 11 times with 4 starters out on the offensive line today. What is your confidence level in the Jaguars' pass rush?
Well, it better be good. I mean, I think it's been okay so far anyway. Mahomes is tough to sack. It felt to me like they affected him, and he's just really good at not letting, when you affect him, still finding a way to beat that. C.J. Stroud's not at that level yet. I expect something much more along the lines of week 1 when they had 4 sacks and they felt like they were all over Anthony Richardson. And Richardson got away because of his mobility. They ought to have a good game. It ought to be a 3 or 4 sack game, or at least feel like that sort of pressure, Bucky.
Yeah, the pressure has to be persistent, but it all works together. The pressure the pass rush works with the coverage. So the Jaguars have to be able to cover the Texans receivers on the perimeter, so Mike Caldwell can feel comfortable enough to heat up C.J. Stroud. This is a game where the pressure should be relentless from the opening snap, meaning you're sending 4, 5, 6 bodies at C.J. Stroud to make him uncomfortable. But the only way that can happen, you have to feel great about your guys' ability to win their one-on-one matchups on the outside. If the Jaguars can cover them in man-to-man, well, then you can throw the kitchen sink at the young quarterback.
And I got to think, guys, this is a week where the numbers catch up to Stroud. I mean, he's been pressured a lot. I think the most in the NFL. No picks yet. The Jaguars are a team that has, not only this year, but last year, been a very good team at forcing turnovers. It's been the defensive strength. At some point, the rookie will throw picks. I've got to think it's today in these circumstances.
Bucky Brooks and John Oehser upstairs here at the bank ahead of the Texans and the Jaguars. D'Amico Ryan's well-respected around the NFL as a defensive mind. He's getting his first chance, Bucky, as a head coach this season. There's still going to be a bit of a build in Houston, but what are your thoughts on what he could do in time there?
In time, he's going to be good. He's going to be a really good coach. He's smart as a whip. He does a really good job with his personnel and players, and he's going to figure it out on the job. What you can expect from the Texans, they're going to be a defensive-led team. They're going to play fast. They're going to be aggressive. Eventually, he's going to curb the amount of big plays that this team gives up. And then when the offense comes and catches up, they're going to be able to win in a very physical fashion with a quarterback who has the potential to end up being a star. But this defense is one that's going to be aggressive and relentless, and I expect them to play hard. They're going to exhibit great toughness. They may not have the talent, but the toughness and the effort should be there today.
Yeah, you do feel like you need to get him now because it sure looks like Stroud's going to be good. And you can never tell that situations can impact a coach's success. But if Stroud is what he looks like he's going to be, it becomes a lot easier to build around. And I don't think this franchise will be down very long in the Texans.
All right, who's the one X-factor player for the Jags today on either side of the ball?
Wow, hit me with that one, Buck.
I mean, that came out of there was no preview, no lead up to that one at all.
Let's say I'm going to go back to Ridley. No, I'm going to switch that. Evan Ingram. I think he has a big game with the receivers down a little bit, with Zay Jones out. I think Ingram's the guy today.
I mean, that's a nice pick. I mean, you think about the hot hand wide receivers going over 100. Calvin Ridley first week, Christian Kirk the second week. It's time for Evan Ingram to go. I'm going to stay on offense, but I'm going to go to the running game. Travis Etienne has to get off. At some point, everyone in the building has to recognize that this team has to be more balanced to have more success in the passing game. Travis Etienne needs to go over 100 yards. We need to see him hit triple digits.
That's also a good pick, Buck.
I appreciate it.
Wow, a lot of good picks upstairs today. Bucky,
a lot of camaraderie.
Yeah, really, that's good teamwork. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser upstairs. Have a great day, gentlemen. Check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars social channel, Jaguars YouTube channel, in fact, is where that airs. We're inside 20 minutes away from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff begins at noon, and we'll return with a fantasy forecast and a visit with Frank Frangie. The Texans and the Jaguars coming up, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens. Plus, easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida,
Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com. Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at Jaguars.com/shadows. One winner a guest for every home game at EverBank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit Jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime.
For the touchdown!
Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative, results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey in the Hyundai Studios. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up. Texans 0-2, Jaguars 1-1. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida today. And the game is presented by Renewal by Anderson, a better way to a better window. Visit rbafla.com. Time now for a fantasy forecast. Mike Dempsey, what you got?
Well, as usual, JP, injuries wreaking havoc with the managers' lineups here already in week 3 as we lost Nick Chubb earlier this week on Monday Night Football and hope for a speedy recovery there. Jerome Ford will get the start for the Cleveland Browns. They did re-sign Kareem Hunt as well, but Ford is expected to be the starter going forward here. We just found out that Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, both questionable to play, will not play for the Green Bay Packers today. Jaden Reed in Watson's absence getting a 38% target share, which is insane. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, so he's a very nice kind of plug-and-play option right there, and he's probably available on a lot of waiver wires, maybe not so much after last week, and that means A.J. Dillon, despite being unproductive last week, will get another start in place of Jones this week. Elsewhere, with the Justice Hill out, you've got Gus Edwards getting a pretty clear path to workload in the Baltimore backfield as they take on the Indianapolis Colts, so he could be a nice bye week or injury fill-in if you've got some of these running backs, these frontline guys who are not available to you, including Austin Eckler, who's going to miss another game for the LA Chargers when they take on Minnesota, and the really poor run defense, so it's a shame for Eckler managers. But if you picked up Joshua Kelly and were disappointed with him last week going up against Tennessee, in a much better position to have a bounce-back game today. David Montgomery was doubtful coming in for the Lions. He has been ruled out. That means Craig Reynolds probably gets a lot of first and second down work and probably an expanded role as well for rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs. So both of those guys are worthy of starts. Reynolds more as a flex, Gibbs as an RB2. Alvin Kamara still out another week for New Orleans. Jamal Williams goes on injured reserve. So the rookie Kendre Miller will make his debut today. He'll share the backfield with Tony Jones, who scored 2 touchdowns on Monday Night Football. If I had to choose one, I'm going to go with the upside of Miller, a little bit more explosive. He's been talking about doing such a good job that he doesn't want to give the job back to Kamara when he comes back next week. So let's see if he can get that done. Cam Akers, disgruntled in Los Angeles, gets traded to Minnesota this week, opening the door for Kyron Williams to be the starter for the rest of the season. He's been very effective going up against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. I have no issue playing Kyron Williams as a top 15 to 18 running back right now. Akers will not be active for the Vikings, so at least if you have Alexander Mattison and need to play him, he's been disappointing. He won't be sharing that backfield with Akers for this week. Mentioned Monday Night Football, Cincinnati and the LA Rams. Joe Burrow is questionable. questionable whether you should play him even if he is active. First of all, it's the last game of the week, so you're not going to have many ways to pivot. Probably Jake Browning going to be the starter there. Depends on your options, whether you should sit Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. I'm probably rolling with those guys based on the way you structure your roster. You might not have as good an option even with Browning in at quarterback. And Puka Nacua, who has been the wide receiver sensation of the NFL. 15 targets in week 1, 15 catches in week 2. He is an automatic start. You almost have to find a guy to sit down no matter how good your wide receiver core is to get Nacua in. He's questionable for Monday, but all signs point to him playing. So at least have some kind of a fallback plan. You could maybe have Tutu Atwell on your bench, Van Jefferson, somebody like that you could always switch over to.
What was the average round he was drafted, by the way?
Undrafted.
He was not
on
drafted
average.
at all.
I mean, there was some buzz about him, but right before the season started, Sean McVay said, look, Van Jefferson's our 1. This is with Cooper Kupp going on injured reserve and knowing he's going to be out for a while. Van Jefferson's the 1. Tutu Atwell has earned the right to be the 2. Puka Nacua is our 3rd wide receiver. Well, nobody gave Matthew Stafford the memo on that because, I mean, he targeted him 15 times in the first game, and then he came back with 15 catches last week. I mean, it's his production has been astronomical, record-setting for a rookie wide receiver so far.
The fantasy forecast is in for week 3. Let's go upstairs. Back to the broadcast booth. Voice of the Jaguars, Frank Frangie, joining us now ahead of another Jaguars home game, another warm one at the bank today. And the Jags offense needs to get warm in this one today. Frank, what's up?
Yeah, JP, good morning to you and Mike, and you're exactly right. It is going to be a hot day today, and the Jaguar offense does need to find itself. That's kind of been the story of the early part of the season, apart from wins and losses. The defense has been better than expected. The offense not as good as expected. I think everybody knows that, JP, and I think they know that. And I think a big part of today's game is can they find some rhythm offensively because they haven't found it in a few games yet. At least it doesn't feel that way.
Frank, here's what was unexpected to hear both the coaching staff and the players talk about how poorly they practiced last week. Heading into the Kansas City game, it seemed like there was plenty to have you focused on your performance for that game. What gives? What explains that?
And here's my take on that. I didn't sense it much. It was an energy thing, Mike, that they were flat in practice. From what I've gathered and the folks with whom I've spoken, they just didn't practice very well. They missed some throws. They dropped balls. They played badly in practice. I don't know that I sense it was bad, and you tend to play like you practice. So I do get the sense that'll be better this week. But look, people get this now. They didn't play very well last week. They played the world champions, and they lost by a touchdown after not playing very well and having a few things they'd like to have back if they could do it again. But you got to find yourself today. This is a game that, in the court of public opinion, Mike, you're supposed to win, right? There's a team, you're playing a team that's struggling. You're not a team that's struggling. You've been there, done that. You're beyond that now. So people expect you to play well and win today. I think that's the expectations for everybody.
Frank Frangie with us. Quarterback's got to play better overall as well. This seemed off a little bit last week in that game. High passes, and then, of course, the first and goal situation at the 1, running wide and getting tackled for a 3-yard loss. With a franchise generational quarterback that they think he is, he's got to elevate his game.
No question, JP. And there's a lot of layers to that. Number one, when the play calls to hand the ball off, hand the ball off. Trevor took that upon himself. He was trying to do the right thing. We all know by now that he was supposed to hand the ball off. They were going to try and run it 4 times from the 1-yard line, and they never got to try that. So don't overthink it. And I think Trevor's so good and has been so successful his whole career as a high school player, a college player, now a pro player, that sometimes the overthinking it has worked because he's a smart guy. Don't overthink it. When a play calls to hand it off, hand it off. But I think there are other things. He didn't play well, to your point. I also think protection was an issue. When you can't block them, and they couldn't block Chris Jones last week. The guys told you earlier they should have been chipping a little bit, and they should have, but they didn't block him. So he never gets into a rhythm, JP. So part of it is he played badly. Part of it is they couldn't find a rhythm offensively because he was moving around. He was getting moved off his spot a lot. All of that needs to be better. The line's got to play better today. Not just Trevor. The line's got to play better. All that needs to get better today, no question.
Frank, you would think when you face the Texans right now, they would try to give you a heavy dose of Dameon Pierce, maybe shorten the game a little bit. But when you fall behind and your offensive line is beat up, the running game's not effective. So Stroud's throwing it a ton. Do you expect the Jaguars defense to get their hands on some footballs today? He's avoided interceptions through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that. I mean, this is the guy that played. He was a 2-year starter at Ohio State, threw 85 touchdowns and only 12 picks in those 2 years. So he's pretty good at taking care of the ball. But, yeah, I would think they'll get their hands on the ball. Here's what I think, too, Mike. The Texans know they've got to run Dameon Pierce to be successful. They're not good enough now to be this high wire act where they throw it every down. I think they're going to try and run it more. My guess is the Jags try and establish the run because they really haven't gotten Travis Etienne going. Tank Bigsby didn't even get a carry last week. So I don't expect the ball to be flying all over the park today. I think both teams are going to try and run it a little bit. I expect maybe a little bit of a lower scoring game for that reason. So, yeah, I think the Jags will affect C.J. Stroud, but I expect the Texans will have the ball on the ground more than people expect.
Good old-fashioned AFC South pound-it football or Big Ten West, one of the two. So, all right, got to get this one today, Frank. Divisional game because, hey, guess what? The Falcons haven't lost yet. That's next week at Wembley, and the Bills are the Bills. So, need to get this one before you start hopping on an airplane to London.
JP, this is a really important game. I say this all the time with college and pro teams. There's games you really want to win, and there's games you better not lose. This is a better not lose game. Whether people like it or not, that's the reality. You're getting on a plane to go to play 2 games in London. Then the schedule gets tougher, some tough road games against some good defenses. This is and it's a game everybody expects you to win against a struggling franchise. This is to your point, a really important game for the Jaguars today. No doubt about that.
Have a great call. Call a W today, will you?
I'll do it. Thanks, fellas.
Frank Frangie, he called it. He said he was going to do it. So
I think he will.
We're going to hold him to that.
Frank would do that last week.
Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth joining us. The Jaguars and the Texans coming up from EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. Of course, the Jaguars won the last meeting last year. That snapped a 9-game losing skid against the Texans in the head-to-head series, and they haven't won back-to-back meetings against Houston since the 2017 campaign when the Jaguars swept the Texans that year.
Right, Texans 5 straight road victories against Jacksonville, so you know they're coming in here thinking they're going to win the football game today. Whether or not they have the horses to get it done, that may be another story, JP, but I think their mentality is going to be one of that this is a team they can handle.
All right, the Jaguars and the Texans coming up. We'll come back with Jaguars Radio Network coverage, countdown to kickoff. We'll hear from Fred Taylor, head coach Doug Peterson, and much more. The Texans and Jaguars in just over an hour. And thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders,